I welcome you all for module 8 lecture 3. In this lecture we will be discussing about angle measurement and radius measurement. The topics covered in this lecture 3 are like this: angle measurement. Under this we will be studying about tilt measurement by autocollimator, and then contact angle measurement, angle gauges, spirit level and dotile measurement. And then we will move to the radius measurement. Under radius measurement we will be studying about radius gauges, spirometers, cylindrometers, adjustable outside inside radius gauges, cutting tool radius measurement by optical system, digital radius gauge and then profile projector. Now, let us start the discussion on angle measurement or tilt measurement by using autocollimator. You can see in this photograph we have autocollimator setup. We can adjust the height of this tube depending upon the workpiece height, and there is a stabilized voltage supply to light the light source, and then where the various optical lenses are provided, and then where there is a viewing eyepiece is there through which we have to take the readings. Now, let us see how we can use this autocollimator for tilt measurement. So, we have a surface plate on which we have kept a mirror, reflecting mirror. Now, you can see here, let us assume that we have kept this mirror on a surface, workpiece surface like this, and light ray will fall on the mirror and it will get reflected. Now, let us assume that there is a small tilt of the surface like this. So, the angle theta is the tilt angle. So, in this case light will fall on the mirror, and because of this tilt it gets reflected in this path. So, this is the reflected reflected light. This reflected light will fall on the glass scale provided inside the autocollimator. So, which we can read through the eyepiece. Now, the constructional details are shown here. This is the reflector M. Now, you can see there is a small tilt of theta which we wish to measure. I can see the objective lens and then eyepiece lens, and there is a light source. Okay, light will fall on the mirror and then it will fall on the reflecting surface. If there is a tilt, the light gets reflected and then it will fall at point R2. If there is no tilt, the light will fall on R1. If there is a tilt of theta, then it will fall on the point R2. So, this distance d between R1 and R2 we can measure using the eyepiece. Now, inside view field diagram you can see here. So, the cross lines, you can see this is the reference point and you can measure what is the tilt angle. So, the least count is 1 division is equal to 1 minute. So, by how many minutes the surface has tilted, that we can read. Now, let us learn about the contact angle and measurement of contact angle. This is the angle conventionally measured through the liquid, where a liquid vapor interface meets a solid surface. You can see here we have a drop of liquid and the vapor this is the vapor and the drop of liquid, and this is the solid surface. This contact angle quantifies the wettability of a solid surface by a liquid via the Young equation. That Young equation is written here. We have the solid surface tension, liquid surface tension, solid and liquid boundary tension. All these factors are considered in this Young equation. Now, you can see this angle theta formed by the solid surface and tangent of the droplet is called the contact angle. Now, this contact angle is used as an indicator of wettability and has been adopted widely in industrial fields as an evaluation method of surface. By measuring this contact angle, we can say what is the wettability between a liquid and a solid surface. You can see here, in this case this is the tangent, theta, angle theta is greater than 90 degree. This is angle theta, so which is greater than 90 degree. If there is large angle, then it is difficult to wet, that means the wettability is very poor. If the angle is less than 90 degree, it indicates that wettability is very easy. Now, the low contact angle values indicate that the liquid spreads on the surface, while high contact angle values show poor spreading. If the contact angle is less than 90 degree, the liquid wets the surface. Zero contact angle represents complete wetting. If the angle is greater than 90 degree, the surface is said to be non-wetting with that liquid. Now, we can see here some images wherein we have a fabric cloth treated with hydrophobic agent. So, on this a drop of liquid is placed. Now, you can see a very large contact angle, which indicates that wettability is very poor, and we have a lotus leaf on which a water drop is placed. Again, you can see very large contact angle of about 147 degrees. So, this image shows the image taken from a video contact angle device. So, water drop on glass plate with the reflection below. So, the contact angle is less, so wettability is good. Now, how do we measure this contact angle? So, a contact angle goniometer is used to measure the contact angles. A few setups are shown here, and a schematic diagram is shown here. A high resolution CCD camera is used, and there is a light source, and there is a stage on which the dosing a drop of liquid is placed by using this dosing system, and then the image is taken, and then software is used to get the contact angle. So, this contact angle is very important in the case of making of composite material, wherein the liquid phase, for example, polymer matrix is used with the fibers of different, maybe glass fibers or carbon fibers. In that case, we should know whether wettability is good or not. So, in such cases, the contact angles are measured. Now, other important devices used or angle gauges. This photograph shows a set of 16 angle gauge blocks. This set forms all angles between 0 degree to 99 degree in 1 second step a total of 3,56,400 combinations. So, in a step of 1 second we can build the angles between this range 0 to 99 degrees. Different grades of angle gauges are available. Laboratory master grade to an accuracy of 1/4 second is available. The inspection grade angle gauges are available with an accuracy of half second, and then tool room grade angle gauges are available with 1 second accuracy. So, whenever we want to calibrate other device angle measurement devices, we use these laboratory master grades for calibration of angle measuring devices. Now, we can see here this table shows a set of 14 piece set. We have a set of 5 pieces of 1 degree, 3 degree, 9 degree, 27 degree and 41 degree, and under minutes category we have 1 minute gauge, 3 minute gauge, 9 minute gauge and 27 minute gauge, and then under seconds we have 3 seconds gauge, 6 seconds gauge, 18 seconds gauge and 30 seconds gauge. In addition to these pieces, we have another square block. Now, how do we build the angles using these angle gauges? You can see here in the previous picture we saw, we have this mark which indicates that this side is having smaller width and the other side is having a larger width. When we keep the angle gauges in this fashion, wherein the mark is like this, then the angle between this surface and this surface is totally it is 27 degree plus 41 degrees. So, we get 68 degrees. When they are placed in the opposite sides like this, then we have to subtract 27 degree from 41 degree. So, total angle between this surface and this surface is 14 degrees. So, like this we can build the angles. So, we have a work piece with an angle of 120 degree. So, how do we check this work piece, this V gauge? So, you can see here we can use angle gauges. We have used a 90 a square plate and then a 27 degree gauge and then 3 degree gauge. So, totally it becomes 120 degree. So, this is this combination is used to check whether the angle on the workpiece is proper, is okay or not. Now, let us take a simple numerical example. Build an angle of 40 degrees 13 minutes and 15 seconds using a set of 13 pieces. These are the angle gauges provided. So, we have to build 40 degrees. I can see here we have to take this 41 degree gauge block and then 1 degree gauge block, and then we have to arrange like this. So, this is 41 degree and then we have to subtract 1 degree from this. So, this is 1 degree. So, totally this angle becomes 40 degrees. So, this is a combination A. So, next we have to build an angle of 13 minutes. So, to build 13 minutes we can select this 9 minute gauge block, 3 minute gauge block and 1 minute gauge block. So, totally if we assemble them it becomes 13 minutes. So, this is 9 minute and then we have to take 3 minutes 3 minutes and then 1 minute. So, totally this angle is 13 minutes. Say this is combination B, and then we have to build 15 seconds. For that we can select 18 seconds gauge and 3 seconds gauge, and we have to assemble them. So, this is 18 seconds, and then we have to subtract 3 seconds from this. Seconds. So, this angle becomes 15 seconds. 15 seconds. Say this is combination. Then finally, we have to add all these combinations A, B, C. So, this is combination A with 2 gauge blocks, and then we have combination B with 3 gauge blocks, and we have another combination C with 2 gauge blocks. So, totally this angle is 40 degrees, 13 minutes, 15 seconds. So, like this we can build the angles. Now, let us move to the another instrument, spirit level, which is mostly used for measurement of tilt of surfaces. This is a device consisting of a sealed glass tube partially filled with alcohol or other liquid containing an air bubble whose position reveals whether a surface is perfectly leveled. It is used to check the level of plane table by placing it on the board in 2 positions at right angles to each other. When the bubble remains in the center at any point on the table, then the table is considered to be properly leveled. So, different configurations of spirit level are available. This is a flat base level. This is the glass tube which is partially filled with alcohol. There will be a bubble here. You can see the base is flat, and we have a V groove in base. So, you can see the side view, we have a 120 degree V groove, and the inside there is a glass tube, and in sometimes a cross level is also provided, and this is a square block level again with 120 degree V on the base. Now, the glass tube has a slight upward curve, we can see in this photograph the slight upward curve, so that the bubble naturally rests in the center. When the base is placed on a properly leveled surface, the bubble will be at the center, which is the highest point. At slight inclinations, the bubble travels away from the marked center position to indicate what is the level. Now, this is the glass tube with markings, and at the center we have a bubble, and this is a cross sectional view of the spirit level. This is the glass tube filled with spirit, and there is a bubble, which is this tube is placed in a frame, and this is the base, and this curvature is R. Now, what is the relationship between the tilt angle theta, you can see here we have a tilt angle theta, bubble movement. So, this is when when the surface is perfectly leveled, bubble will be at the center A. When there is a slight inclination tilt of theta, then bubble moves from A to A1 and VL radius R, the radius of curvature R, height h of one end of the base above the other end. Now, you can see here B end, it has raised by h with respect to the other end O and base length L. Now, what is the relationship? If the length is L is 1 meter and if the one end rises by an amount of say 0.02 millimeter, then bubble will move by 1 graduation. That means, if bubble moves from A to A1, it indicates that the end B has raised by an amount of 0.02 millimeter. Now, this photo shows a commercially available spirit level. There is this is the pivot and there is a provision for adjustment, and this is the glass tube, and we can also see the bubble, and then the graduations are also visible. Now, let us study about dovetail chuck. In most of the machine tools, dovetails are used. The dovetails, they look like this. Now, this we have rollers or balls of same diameter kept in position like this, and we can take the measurement over rollers or balls. So, this will be M. So, this is M. So, M is measurement over balls or rollers, and then this is B. So, this is B, width of top surface, and this is H, that is depth. H is the depth, and this is angle alpha. This angle is alpha, and D is diameter of the ball. D is diameter of the ball. Now, by knowing any 4 out of these 5 parameters, B, M, D, H alpha, if we know any 4 parameters, the other unknown can be calculated using this relationship. Now, let us conduct an experiment to check dovetail. Now, you can see here we have a dovetail here of milling machine. We have kept a ball of known diameter. On the other side also we have kept another ball of same diameter. Now, we are measuring the M measurement over balls using vernier caliper. You can see here we have kept another ball here, and we are measuring the distance over the 2 balls. You can see the measurement, it is 242 millimeter, and then we have to see the coinciding division, that is 6 30 into 0.02. Okay, 242 plus we have to add the vernier scale reading. And now we can take the reading 242 millimeter, and then 6 into 30th division, it is coinciding with the main scale reading. Now, we are taking the measurement over the top surface, that is B. Yeah, you can see the reading. So, it is 195 plus we have to see the coinciding division, that is 25th division is coinciding with the main scale marking. Now, I can see we are measuring the depth h. We are measuring the depth h. It is 22 millimeter. Now, we are measuring the diameter of steel ball. Now, the measured values can be fed into this equation, and unknown value can be determined. Now, we have completed the first part of module 8, that is angle measurement, tilt measurement and taper measurement. Now, we will move to the next part, that is radius measurement. So, for measuring the radius of a component, the most commonly used instrument is radius gauge. This is also known as fillet gauge, which is used to measure the radius of an object. Radius gauges require a bright light behind the object to be measured. The gauge is placed against the edge to be checked, and any light leakage between the gauge and edge indicates a mismatch that requires correction. A good set of gauges will offer both convex and concave gauges and allow for their application in awkward locations. Every leaf has different radius. The material of the leaf is stainless steel. It is of two types: internal measurement leaf and external measurement, that is concave measurement and convex measurement is possible. It is used to check the radius of inner and outer surfaces. You can see here a set of radius gauges, and here we have radius of different values. This is 10 millimeter radius, 10.25, 10.5, 10.75 like this. The different leaves are commercially available, and available ranges are like this: 0.5 to 13 millimeter, 26 leaves, that is 0.5 to 13 mm in steps of 0.5 mm, and from 1 to 7 millimeter 34 leaves. So, 1 to 3 millimeter in steps of 0.25 millimeter, 3.5 to 7 millimeter in steps of 0.5 millimeter, and from 7.5 to 15 millimeter 32 leaves are available, 7.5 to 15 mm in steps of 0.5 mm, and then 15.5 to 25 mm, totally 30 leaves will be available. 15.5 mm to 20 mm in steps of 0.5 mm measurement is possible, 21 to 25 mm in steps of 1 mm measurement is possible. Now, let us conduct an experiment to learn how we can use radius gauge for measuring the radius. Now, you can see radius gauge set. I can see different leaves: 1 mm, 1.5 mm, 2 mm, 3 mm, and here it is 6 mm leaf. That means, the radius is 6 mm. So, the diameter will be 12 mm. So, this is to check the concave radius, and this portion can be used to check the convex radius. Yeah, 6.5 millimeter radius, 6 millimeter, 5.5, 5 millimeter radius, 4.5 millimeter radius, 4 millimeter, 3.5, 7.5, 8. So, like this different leaves are available: 11 millimeter, 10.5, 10 millimeter. So, leaves are available in step of 0.5, 11.5, 12, 12.5, and a holder is provided along with this set to hold the leaf. Now, we have to keep the gauge, radius gauge, into the holder. Now, you can see how to use this radius gauge. We have a threaded screw. We want to measure the shank dia. Yeah. Now, you can see there is proper match between the surface of the screw thread and the gauge. So, the diameter is 12 millimeter. Now, let us learn how to check the concave radius. Now, you can see there is a slot. We want to check, we want to measure what is the diameter. Yeah, now it is 7.5, it is properly matching with the contour. Now, another most commonly used instrument for measurement of curvature of lens surface is spirometer. It is used for precise measurement of radius of a sphere. these instruments are used by opticians to measure the curvature of surface of lens. The usual form consists of a fine screw moving in a nut carried on the center of a small 3-legged table, the feet forming the vertices of an equilateral triangle. The lower end of the screw and those of the table legs are finely tapered, that means the ends are conical, so that each end rests on a point. If the screw has 1 mm pitch and the head scale, that is dial, is divided into 100 parts, then the least count of the instrument is 0.01 millimeter. A vertical scale fastened to the table indicates the number of hole turns of the screw and serves as an index for reading the divisions on the head. An electric contact arrangement may be attached to the spirometer in order to indicate the moment of touching, that is, when the screw just touches the surface of the lens or workpiece, it indicates that there is contact. So, otherwise we can simple method is we can always take a feeler gauge or a piece of thin paper. We should try to insert between the screw and the workpiece surface. If it enters, it indicates that there is a gap. If it does not enter, it indicates that the screw is in contact with the workpiece surface. Now, the construction of spirometer is like this. This photograph shows that this is the central screw and 3 legs are there. The screw is screw end is conical. Similarly, all the 3 legs, they have conical end. This is the dial on which the markings are there, and then there is a vertical scale to indicate how many rotations this screw has rotated. The 3 ends of the 3 legs form the vertices of an equilateral triangle. The outer legs, that means these legs, outer legs of some spirometers can be moved to a set of inner holes in order to accommodate smaller surfaces. As we can see here, there is a central leg, that is a screw, and there is a reading device for measuring the distance the central leg that is moved, by what distance the central leg has moved. The vertical scale is marked off in units of 1 millimeter. This is the vertical scale. One complete turn of the dial corresponds to 1 millimeter, and each small graduation on this dial, that means this rotary scale, represents 0.01 millimeter. The spirometer directly measures h. Using the mean length between the outer legs L, the spherical radius r can be calculated by the formula r is equal to h by 2 plus L into L divided by 6 h. So, h is given by the spirometer. So, using this relationship we can find the radius of curvature. Now, let us conduct an experiment to study how we can use a spirometer for measurement of radius of curvature. You can see we have a lens. The spirometer is placed on the lens whose radius of curvature is to be determined. Now, we are measuring the concave portion of the lens. Now, you can see the screw end is in contact with the lens. So, that is where, so we can check whether this point, screw point, is in contact with the workpiece surface, whether it is making proper contact or not, that we can check by we have to try to insert a piece of paper. If it enters, it indicates that there is gap. If it does not enter, it indicates that there is no gap. Now, we have to take the reading on the vertical scale as well as on the dial rotary scale. So, this gives the H. I can see the dial is reading 81 or 82. Now, we have to keep the spirometer on a plain paper and we have to press it to get the location of the legs, 3 legs of the spirometer. Now, we have to mark those 3 points and then we have to join all these 3 points and then we should get the lengths of length L1, length L2 and length L3, and finally, we should calculate the average length L. So, again we are trying to find the length L. We have to measure L1, L2, L3 and find the average. Now, you can see we are measuring the radius of curvature of convex lens. The screw should be withdrawn slightly and then the spirometer should be kept at the center. Screw end should be at the center. 3 legs are in contact with the lens. Now, we have to rotate the dial or screw so that it just touches the topmost point on the lens. Now, we are rotating the screw is moving down. Now, it is making contact with the surface of the lens. Now, we have to note down the reading, the dial reading as well as vertical scale reading. Dial reading and then vertical scale reading we should note down. So, by knowing H and L, we can calculate the radius of curvature. Now, the calculation of radius of curvature or calculation of radius of curvature for convex lens. So, we have observed that H, that is vertical scale reading plus dial reading into least count is equal to vertical scale reading is 1 unit and then dial reading was 92 into least count is 0.01 mm. So, H is 1.92 millimeter and length, average length, that is distance between the tips of legs, average distance is 45 millimeter. Then we have to feed these values in the equation and finally, we get radius of curvature of 176.74 millimeter. Similarly, for concave lens, H was 2.83 millimeter and L was 45 millimeter. So, radius of curvature was 120.67 millimeter. Like this, using the spirometer, we can find radius of curvature. Now, what are the other uses of spirometer? So, apart from measuring the radius of curvature, this spirometer can also be used to measure the thickness of thin plates, thin metallic plates, thin glass plates. Thickness can be measured. The instrument is placed on a perfectly level plane surface and the screw turned until the point just touches the surface. The dial and vertical scale are red and the screw is raised, the thin plate is slipped under it and the process is repeated. The difference between the two readings gives the required thickness. The instrument can measure the depression in an otherwise flat plate. The micrometer portion is placed over the depression and the measurement is taken below the surface instead of above to check the depression. Now, let us move to another instrument, cylindrometer. See, the spirometer is used to measure the radius of curvature, whereas the cylindrometer is used to measure the radii of cylindrical surfaces. It is a modified version of a spirometer. The construction is shown here. Instead of 3 legs, we have totally 4 legs, which all the 4 legs are fixed to this base, and this base has a vertical scale, and at the center of the base we have a threaded screw and then a circular dial on which markings are there. So, similar to the spirometer, this instrument can be used to measure the radius of cylindrical surface. That means, we have to say this is the cylindrical surface, we want to measure the cylindrical the radius, we have to keep this instrument on the surface and then the screw should be moved till it just touches the surface, and then we have to take the readings, vertical scale reading and then dial reading, and then using the equation we can find the diameter or radius of cylindrical surface. Now, these are adjustable radius gauges. This is outside gauge used to measure the convex workpieces, radius of convex workpieces. You can see here totally 3 points are there. All these 3 points should be in contact with the workpiece, and then we should move this slide. When the central point just touches the workpiece, the scale indicates what is the radius. Similarly, this is inside gauge, the 3 points should be in contact with the concave surface, and the scale directly gives what is the radius. Now, how do we measure the radius of tool tip? So, this is a single point cutting tool, and this is the principal cutting edge and auxiliary cutting edge, and here there will be a small radius is provided. So, this radius we want to measure. So, for that we can use an optical tool radius measurement setup. This is a microscope which has a table on which we have to keep the cutting tool, and then through the eyepiece we can get the image of the nose, and using the scale provided we can get the reading, or we can put a camera here and then amplified image we can have on the monitor, and using the software we can measure the diameter or the radius of tool nose. You can see here we have a carbide tip tool with some radius. So, using an optical microscope like this we can measure the radius, and again radius on the tool insert. So, radius measurement range of such microscopes are 10 micrometer to 20 millimeter with an accuracy of plus or minus 200 nanometer. So, setting time quickly we can measure the radius. setting time is about 3 to 5 seconds. Now, the other instrument used to measure the radius is digital radius gauge. You can see we have an indicator with a spindle and then with digital indicator, and then we have a fixture with 2 points, 2 legs. So, this fixture we have to insert onto the spindle, and we should keep this digital radius gauge. Say this is the surface of the workpiece. For the radius of this workpiece we want to measure, this is the indicator, digital indicator with the spindle, and we have to mount this fixture. The other 2 legs should be in contact. Okay. Now, slowly we have to move this spindle, or because of the spring it moves down, it makes contact with the workpiece, and then the indicator will indicate what is the radius. So, different fixtures are available, different jaws are available. So, this tells outside or inside arc radius automatically. No calculation is needed, directly it gives what is the value. This can also be used to check depth or thickness of objects. Range of such instrument is 5 to 1000 millimeter with a resolution of 0.005 millimeter. So, 5 measuring jaws are provided with the size 10 millimeter, 20 millimeter, 30 millimeter, 60 millimeter and 100 millimeter. This gap is 100 millimeter. And then we can use profile projector for measuring the radius. So, we have to select appropriate functional key in the data processor. Say we want to measure this radius. So, we have to feed 3 data points, and then the data processor will calculate and it will tell what is the radius. It is a very quick method of measuring the radius. So, for measuring the diameter, we have to feed 3 points. So, it will give the diameter, half of that will give the radius. Let us summarize this session. So, in this lecture we discussed about the contact angle measurement and use of spirit level for measurement of angles, tilts. Also we learnt about how to use autocollimator for measurement of tilt, and then we discussed about the measurement of radius, what are the various instruments used for the measurement of radius, instruments like spirometers, radius gauges, digital radius indicator, and how to use profile projector for measurement of radius. So, these things we discussed. We will conclude this session. Thank you.